Yo, niaje? Kofiti? Sawa kabisa manze. Leo nitasema shukran sana. You've shown us love na we appreciate it. We thank you and we hope this journey is as interesting for you as it is for us. So, leo nataka tuanze the journey officially, the creative journey. And there's so many ways to start, but tutaanza na the basics. While trying to figure out how to go about this, we decided to start now the softwares we're going to majorly focus on. We're going to majorly focus on the Adobe Creative Suite because even though most people use na even though what I personally use, and I know most of everyone who's going to be on this channel anatumia the Adobe Creative Suite in one way or another. I figured out, well, ni better to start with what I know, and then maybe later on we can venture into the other options that are out there, because there are so many options huko nje huwezi maliza. I'm going to show you a basic overview of Adobe Photoshop. As usual, links zetu ziko hapa down. You can check out our social media pages, you can check out our website. So without much further ado, let's get right into it. If it's your first time opening Photoshop, I know there's a window that appears, some legal and say accept, so go ahead and do that, and then you should get something like this. If it's not this, it's something like this. So yeah, this is Photoshop. This is how it looks when you first open it. It might be a bit scary. For me it was when I started out. I used to open it and then close it and say I'll open it next time, and then it took me over 2 months kuifungua tena. So it might be a bit intimidating, but it's not that big of a deal. So it's an easy thing to get, easy to understand. Yeah, so this is how it looks. Kuna menu hapa juu, kuna this one here. So you can either use this to create a new file or open a new file, or you could go up here and say file, new or open, depending on what you want to do. So we'll just create a new file so that I show you how to do that. So you go file, new. On this window, yours might look a bit different, being that it's a new installation. Mine has all these file sizes, file dimensions here, because they are the different file sizes I've ever created before. I'm going to go back to the basics. So file ukwa in dimensions za whether in pixels, meters, centimeters, whatever it is you want to do, you have to set a file size. So default for design mostly in pixels, because you design, usually designs a screen basically. So when designing for screen, it's mostly pixels, since tunatumia pixels to describe the screen dimensions. So for instance, there's this 1920 by 1080, that is a 16 by 9 kind of layout in most videos are in, most web pages and all that. So I'll not get into it sana. So you have some presets huku hivi from Adobe. So there are photo sizes 7 by 5, 3 by 2. There are print sizes, legal, nini, A4. If you know A4, like is the most common, so you're given that. There's dimensions for art and illustrations, dimensions for web, dimensions for mobile, and dimensions for film and video. So you have all these presets, but you can still create, you can still set your own custom size here. So you can enter values kwa hizi boxes hapa hivi. So say you want to create 2000 by 1000 pixels file. So you come here, select pixels. You can also select them to be inches. If you switch the units while already having entered values, it will convert the values you had entered into the specific unit you've selected. Mathematic. So it meant in pixels. Ukikuja change hapa hivi itakuwa in inches, and the same in centimeters and all that. We'll use pixels. You can select the orientation of the file you want hapa hivi. So orientation ni like I'm looking for something to show you guys, but I can't find anything. So orientation is how the file is in landscape or portrait. So select portrait, the longest length itakuwa the longest unit ama the largest number kwa hizi mbili ndio itakuwa the height. Ukiselect landscape itakuwa the width. That makes sense? Yes? So and then you have an option to have the file as having artboards or not. So I'll show you what this is later. We have the resolution of the file, the number of pixels per unit. So the higher the resolution, the clearer the file, but also the more detail, and thus the larger the file. It's basic math. The default for Photoshop is 72 pixels per inch. You can mess around with this, but 72 is okay for most of the use you're going to have. Then we have color mode here. So color mode was a whole unit in my 4th year, I think I'm a 3rd year, so I'm not going to get into that. There's the two common ones, RGB na CMYK. RGB is for displays mostly, CMYK for print. 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. 8-bit is the default and most common, so yeah, 8-bit. And then you select whether you want your background to be white, black, that is, sorry, white or black, the background color. I'll show you this uko ndani. Advanced option, well, huku hivi, don't if you don't know what you're doing, you should probably not click it. Achana tunayo, cause easy. If you don't know, you don't know. So for instance, Miss Jaijwa is in Nini, and I don't bother with them since sijai kwa mahali zinani affect as much, so I leave it at the default. Once you're done setting that up, just click create, and there we have it. We have our first file in Adobe Photoshop in this weird layout. Where to start? So that we're on the same page, we should probably reset how this looks for every one of us. Go to Window, Workspace, select Essentials to make it come close to this, and then reset the workspace. So you go to the same place, Window, Workspace, having Essentials selected, reset Essentials. If this is your first installation, probably itakaa hivi, so you're good. So this is how Photoshop looks most of the time, all of the time, if you stick to that workspace, but there's not much difference once you come to workspaces. So there's this menu up here. This is the file menu where we created a new file from, but you also have this option to open a file. I'll show you that. We have all this here. You can check out these menus. Ni like so much if you go into it, like try maliza. So just know this is where you create a file, this is where you save a file, this is where you open a file. So you have new open, you have save as and save. So we can't save since we've not done anything, but you have all this here kwa file menu. You can export your files here, you can share your files here, you can place linked objects here. Uko mbele we'll learn about placing files, placing objects and all that. Edit menu is the same na every edit menu on earth. You have undo, step forward, step backward. Image, hapa unaweza manipulate your image once you load images. I think it's best I show you these things tukiwa tunazifanya manually. So I think we should open a file. So we've learned how to create a file. So let's close that and then open a file. Go to either file open or use this here. So we'll use this open, and then it will open a Windows File Explorer window. So you select a file you want to open. We'll go with this one, click open. It opens the file. So here you can see some details about the photo we've opened. You see the resolution, it has 78 pixels width, and the height is 4724 pixels, so it's a really detailed photo. Yeah, so let's do these things practically from the top. So file, we've learned about the new and the open. The browsing bridge, if you've installed bridge, it will just open a bridge window. So I told you bridge is the Adobe's file explorer. It will open a window in bridge, and you can browse to locations on your machine and select a file and all that. Yeah, so let's look at save as. Save as, you can save your file or your photo and you may edit into any format you want. So you have so many options here. We're not going to save, so yeah, it's a lot, but it's not a lot. Am I making sense? It's like a lot of things to bombard you with, but it's not that hard, it's not that difficult. Easy need just menus, so let's leave them there. Let's go into this. So this here is your toolbar. Your toolbar is where you're going to spend most of your time in Photoshop. So this is where you have all your tools to manipulate your files, to edit your files. Yeah, so we'll go right into it. This first one is the move tool. The move tool is what you use to move things around in this workspace of yours. It moves things, man. So I'm going to show you an example. This layer is currently locked. Another thing I should mention. In Photoshop unawak na layers. Layers inamaanisha you stack things on top of another. Like you work, tuseme ni kama you work na stack ya books enye it can only go up. So layers ni you stack one object here. The next object you create itakuja right above it. And the next you create after that right above it. Like it goes like that. So layers ziko layer iko juu ndio the topmost object, layer iko chini the bottom object kabisa. The background layer is always locked when you create a new file ama when you open a file. So we are going to unlock it, because once it's locked hauwezi fanya anything, you can't move it. So you see nasema the currently selected layer is the background layer, it cannot move. So to move it, you unlock it. It's that simple. So there's this lock hapa hivi, you unlock it. So I should have mentioned this is the layers panel. The layers panel is where all your objects will be once you create objects on the artboard ama on the workspace. All the objects will be hapa hivi kwa layers panel. So right now we only have one object na iko hapo hivyo. So once you select the move tool, you can do things like this. Like you can move your object around in the workspace, whatever, you can place it wherever you want and all that. So hapa juu kuna options kadhaa za kila tool. Ukiselect a tool, options zake ziko kama hapa hivi juu. So for the move tool, you have auto select, and you have this option to select groups ama layers, and then you have this show transform controls. So transform controls ni unachiki kama ukikuja hapa kwa kona kuna haka box kana, and then the cursor changes to this thing. Yeah, it's for resizing. The transform controls ni hizo options za kutransform an object kwa workspace yako. So what is transforming an object? Transforming an object ni kuchange the size, orientation or any property ya object, ni like kuichange from the original state in any way. That is transforming an object. Transform controls ni zenye zina kuenable kutransform an object while you are using the move tool. I hope this is not too much for you, man. I understand this might be overwhelming, but just bear with me. It's not that hard. It's very easy actually. When you're working with many layers, since they are stacked on top of each other, to select the bottommost layer ukwa a bit tricky if this is not selected, because you have to either come here to select it kwa layers panel. So you see, if nothing is selected kwa layers panel, nothing is selected here. If you select an object kwa layers panel, it is selected here. You either have to come huku hivi kwa layers panel, we select wherever it is, ama you use a shortcut. You press control plus then you select control. Sorry, I had auto select on, so that does not work right now. So you press control or command on your Macs. So you press control and then select your object, and then you select it bila kwenda huku the long way. If with auto select on, you don't have to press control, you just select the layer. So long as you click on part of the layer, itakuwa selected. That's the move tool. If you see tool iko na ka triangle hapa hivi, inamaanisha kuna more options on that tool. Kuna other tools within that group of tools. I know I'm complicating this, but bear with me. Ni rahisi, ni like triangle means there is more. You right click on this, you get the move tool, which you just used, and then the artboard tool. So remember when you are creating a file, kulikuwa na option ya create an artboard. So this is the artboard tool, which you can use to create artboards, manipulate artboards, and so on. We will create an artboard ndio niwa show what an artboard is. So before that, normally Photoshop ukwa, once you create a file, this is all you get. Whatever you do will only happen within this window here. This window is your limit. But you can do something like this. Once you have the artboard tool selected, you can create an artboard. So you just click and drag and you have an artboard. So whatever you have on the layers panel can be under this artboard. Ama you can have it not part of this artboard, part of another artboard. Ama it can be independent. It can be out of any artboard. So artboard ni kama page, let's call it that for now. Nika you have an option now to have many pages on this workspace, so you can work on different pages. I'm using pages ndio it makes sense, but it's not technically pages, ni like artboards zichukue kama different sheets of paper arranged on a table, and then you are working on an art piece kwa hii paper, but also at the same time you can work on an art piece on another paper. Does that make sense? That's an artboard for you. So you can create different several artboards and have them under the same file. So unakuja hapa juu, you have this plus here. In ya ku create another artboard of the same size enye artboard 1 ilikuwa. So ukipress ukuje weke hapa, itakuja iweke the same size ya artboard enye the first one you created was. So if you want a different artboard, you can come here, click and drag again. So without selecting this plus thing here, you can come, click, drag, and you can create different artboards, different sized artboards kwa the same file. I hope you are still with me by now. That is the artboard tool. You can also manipulate the size of an artboard once you've created it. So you can change the, sorry about that. You can change the dimensions once you have an artboard already. You can do this, you can do whatever you want. So that's the artboard tool. You can also, like I said, once you select a tool, the tools menu is up here. So you can manipulate the artboard size manually hapa hivi. So remember the file we created was 2000 by 1000. So we can have the file as that, but it is too small, so we'll just expand it. That's the artboard tool. Tuko pamoja? Sawa. Next tool. This is the marquee selection tool. So this tool is used to make selections on the workspace. What do I mean? So once you have this selected, you can select a specific area. You can move the selection a bit. You can select the whole artboard. You can select just one section. Just click and drag and make a selection of an area you want to manipulate. Probably you want to delete or something. There are so many things you can do with it. There are more options as usual. Ukiona ka triangle, more options. There is the elliptical marquee tool. This one selects in a circle, like in a select an ellipsis area. I should mention this mapema. So you can see right now I'm selecting ovals of all kinds of shapes and sizes. So to select a perfect circle of whatever size, you need to press down the shift key. You press shift, select an area you want. So as you can see, while I move the cursor, the circle is expanding proportionally. Hakuna ovals tena. But once I let go of the shift key, I can go back to my ovals. So press shift, perfect circle, release shift, perfect. Imperfect circle or ovals of all kinds of shapes. So to make a selection, that's how you do it. To deselect or to clear a selection, you go to select and then deselect. So select, deselect makes you lose your selection. So for the rectangular marquee tool, need the same thing. Once you hold down shift while making a selection, it selects a perfect square, but ukiachilia shift inakuwa all sorts of rectangles. So yeah, also once you've made a selection, you can add onto the selection by pressing shift. If you press shift while having a selection and then using the selection tool, you can add to a selection. So shift while a selection exists means more. So add. You will see this. I almost pointed to the screen to show you the the plus. So you can see this plus that appears on the selection. So you add onto it to reduce the selection, to get rid of some of the selection. You press Alt. You'll see that a minus appears. Inakuwa na ka minus up or down. While holding on down Alt and making a selection, it deselects that part of the selection yenye umechagua. Basic reminder, shift proportionally, without shift and proportionally. To deselect, you press Ctrl plus D, you go to the select menu and select deselect to get rid of that selection. Yeah, that's it. So rectangular marquee tool for rectangular selections, elliptical marquee tool for elliptical selections, and then there's the single row and single column marquee tools. What these do, they select a single row of pixels, a single column of pixels, depending on which one you've selected. So a single row marquee tool, click hapa, it has selected one row of pixels across. So if you zoom in deep enough to a file, you will see the pixels, the actual pixels that make up a file. So for zooming, there's this tool up or down, which I'm not using. Of course, I'm using shortcuts. The zoom tool is Z. To zoom in, you click Z, you press Z, you select this tool. To zoom out, you press Alt and then click with the zoom tool selected. But anyways, to zoom in using a shortcut, you press Alt and then scroll up or down. Scrolling up is zooming in, scrolling down is zooming out. So that's how I do it. So as you can see, the single row marquee tool a single row of pixels. If we select a single column marquee tool, it will select a single column of pixels. So I hope that makes sense. That's it for the selection tools. So let's move on to the next one. We have the lasso tool. So what the lasso tool is, a lasso ni like some sort of ile kamba hutumika na wale cowboys kufunga the cow. So lasso tool ni ile kamba. Should you watch movie and then this guy on a horse and then he throws the rope and then catches whatever? That is a lasso. I'm trying so hard. A lasso is that rope thing, but for the tool, it's like you select a manual area yourself. So let's say you want to select a bottle cap. So the lasso tool, what it does is unakuja, una make your selection, unachora with your, like you drag along the area you want to select. Okay, I know what this looks like. You drag along the area you want to select yourself, and then it makes a selection. So you can, like, it's a free form selection. Unaweza select any sort of shape you want to select. That is the lasso tool for you. Next tool, polygonal lasso tool. So the polygonal lasso tool ni kama hiyo lasso tool, but now you work with polygonal shapes. Like it goes straight, haikuallow freeform, but you select using straight lines. So using a combination of straight lines, you can, for instance, select this box ya kisu. So you click, drag. You don't press while dragging, just click, drop a point, go to the next point, click, drop it, go to the next point, click, like that. So that's how this tool works. You use points to make a selection. Easy, right? You click, go to the next point, 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 click. That's it. That is the polygonal lasso tool. The next one is the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool, what it does is you click the first point. So you say we want to select this cabinet up IV. So you'll click the first point. And then the magnetic lasso tool, using the smartness, will try as much as possible to make a selection on edge ya kile uli click mara ya kwanza. So it will try as much as it can to match the edge of your tool na vile una move mouse pia ina affect. So for instance, I moved nini hapo hivyo. So you click there, you drag along this line. It does its best. It's best to select a perfect line, but you can click kuisaidia. So for instance, ukifika hapa and then you see it is making its own decisions, you click there. Yeah, that's the magnetic lasso tool. We move on to the next one. We have the quick selection tool. So the quick selection tool saves you all that story ya sijui ku click, select, kuchora. It tries to match the color ya what you're selecting, ama the sharpness ya what you're selecting, and then makes a selection for you. So you have to select the layer kwanza yenye unataka kuselect. So you come here. So we want to select her blouse. The quick selection tool is like a brush and you paint the selection on your object. So this is the brush tip hapo katikati ya utoto points. So it is a very small brush right now. To expand it, you click, you press the right square bracket. To reduce it, you press the left square bracket. So you can expand it to a bigger size or reduce it depending on what you want. So I'll select size car here, and then you see it is trying to match the object I'm selecting. It is trying to see colors zinakaribia na sharpness na all that to match my selection. So right now I just want the blouse she's wearing. So to reduce selection, it's like what we said with the selection tools. You press Alt to reduce, and you press shift to add. So with this tool, it is by default always adding by default, but you can use this instead. So by default it is always adding, so it is like you have shift constantly pressed. So to reduce ndio utafinya to alt, and then if you reduce too much and you want to add again, you just click along where you want to add. That is the quick selection tool. Like it says in the name, it is quick. It saves you a lot of time when you're making selections and all that. We'll deselect this and then move on. We have the magic wand tool. The magic wand tool now, it does some magic. I know. You use it to make selections. Majorly are the same color for it to work best. So say you want to select this sponge here. This sponge is almost the same color all through. So with the magic wand tool, if you click hapa, it selects anything within that area enye equal that color, if that makes sense. If you click hapa, it will match that color to any of the surrounding pixels and then select that pixel. It is like the quick selection tool on steroids. You select a color, a section, it tries to match that selection. To add on to it, as usual, press shift. It select hizo colors, si add kwa zile zingine. Press shift, click, shift, click. So holding down shift and clicking inaendelea kuongeza hizi other colors that surround the object into the selection. To reduce, for example, I want to get rid of this blue, just press alt and then click. So as you can see, imetoa the blue. That is the magic wand tool. It does selections like that. Next we have crop tool. Crop tool, they like in a crop, no, like it crops your artboard ama your workspace. Perspective crop tool we should look at during another time, juu ni a lot deeper. Slice tool ni, for instance, you want to save this image as 3 different images. So slice tool ni ya kukata the image into different sections depending on how you want it. So you can now save this image as this being an image, this being an image, this being an image, like that. Get it? Slice tool, that is the work of the slice tool. Well, you can have fun with it. Depends on what you're doing, what you want to do. So I'll just undo all that. To undo, you either go to edit, undo state change, or you press Ctrl Z. So thing is with Photoshop, if you press Ctrl Z, it will undo the immediate action before. If you press Ctrl Z again, it will undo the undo. So it will like go back to how you are before you pressed Ctrl Z. So to undo continuously, to keep stepping backward, you press Ctrl and then Alt Z. So you will keep stepping backward to the state you were hapo awali, and then ku step forward ni Ctrl Shift Z if you want to keep stepping forward. So depending on your preference settings, you have like a limit to the number of undos you can do, ama the number of redos you can do. By default you need 20 or something, but it's under edit, preferences, and then you can check out that menu. I'll show you in a later time since we are taking forever. Next we have the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper tool is like kale ka stuff ka kupik dawa ya kuna dawa zuu kwa na ka stuff na pinch. It's like what was the name of this tool in chemistry? My dad would not be proud of me right now because he was my chemistry teacher na sikumbuki hiyo tool. The eyedropper tool thingy, that's what it does. So it picks color basically. So we want this red to be our color of choice, this red on this paper thing here. So you click that pixel. Okay, click an area, it picks the color of that pixel. I'm zooming in the one. So if you select this becomes the foreground color here. There kwa hapa chini kuna two colors, as you can see. Kuna foreground color, background color. So by default the Photoshop background color is white. So the foreground color is always black, the opposite. So these are the default background and foreground colors. Using the eyedropper tool, if you select a color, it will become the foreground color. The eyedropper tool, it has set a color for you and you may select that pixel. So if you select this pixel, that it becomes the foreground color. So that is the purpose of the eyedropper tool. You can select any color you want on your artboard or on your workspace. So that becomes set as the foreground color. So if you watch this section, you will see the color keeps changing as I click through our image here. Yeah, that's the eyedropper tool. We'll skip this. I don't do 3D on Photoshop. Color sampler tool. So say you want to have different colors from this image. The color sampler tool, okay, select for example this, it saves this color as color number 1. You'll see this point and then number 1, that is color number 1. We click, say here, we have that green as our color number 2. We click our red here, 3. You can have as many as you want. So we have saved these colors. We would say we have not saved them, we have them sampled. So whenever we need those colors, we just come to our eyedropper tool and you select that point and you select that point. So select that point, it gives you the color you selected kwa hizo points zenye uli select. Am I making sense right now? I hope I am. Next one, ruler tool. So the ruler tool is used to make measurements, I would say. So for instance, we want to know the distance between the tap na kettle. You click and drag to the kettle. So the ruler will give you information here. How wide is it? How high is it? What is the angle difference? What is the length of the selection? So the key components ni angle na the length. So the ruler tool can be used to straighten your images. So for instance, say the horizon for this photo was like this, and we want to straighten this image. So once you've drawn, you drag your ruler along the horizon line, and then you select straighten layer, and then Photoshop does its magic. It aligns your image according to the horizon line, that's making it straight. So let's reset this to the actual horizon line. So we'll draw the ruler and then say straighten layer hapo juu, and then it rotates the image to straighten it. That is the function of the ruler, ni kukupea maybe distance and angles and also kukusaidia ku straighten your layers. Next is the node tool. So if you're using a shared file, you can use this node tool kuachia mse notes. So say we are sharing this file na wewe, nitakuandikia oya mse hii file inoma or something, like say you want to tell the designer who's going to do it next, say toa hii. So that's the basic use for these notes. You can also use notes for yourself. For instance, you are setting, you're giving yourself future notes, like this schedule must go, and you want to save your file and then come check it later. So that's how you do it. Using this notes tab here, you can view your notes like zenye umesha set. that's it. It's basically when you are sharing files, that's the only way I see it being used. Then next we have the count tool. Say we want to count the number of carrots here. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So she has 8 carrots. So for instance, okay, using this here, you can change the color of the markers. The markers ni hizo numbers, so you can have them as say black, ndio zionekane better. And then you can change the size here by dragging hapa hivi to change the marker size, or typing in a number. It's in a number of the size of the marker. And also you can do the same for the label size. You can either drag along kwa hii label size or have it input it manually. Yeah, that's the count tool. So for instance, you're making a presentation your file and hutaki kusema hiyo carrot iko hapo katikati, hiyo ndo nasema no, you just use the count tool and then say carrot number 8 for instance, and everyone already knows what you're talking about. Carrot number 4 for instance. That's it. That's the work of the count tool. Next tool ni spot healing tool. So spot healing tool, I will use an example which kila mtu anaweza relate to, models on magazines. Have you ever noticed that none of them ever have a pimple ama a spot on their face ama any blemish on their photos basically? This is the use of the spot removal tool. Is it spot healing brush tool? So for example, let's say this is a pimple here, hivi kuna ka blemish kadogo. So you set the size of the brush tool. Remember, square brackets, right expands, left reduces. So you set the size to be approximately just a little bit larger than the blemish you want to get rid of. And then you come and click on the blemish and it disappears. Wow! Yeah, it does that. That's the magic. So say you want to remove this spot, gone forever. For example, this knife has this rivet thing, so we want to get rid of it. You just come, go over it and click. It's gone. This other one, click, it's gone. Click this other one, gone forever. And this knife is now freakish. It's like what's holding the plastic onto the knife. So that's the purpose of the spot healing brush tool. It's basically to, like Inaji describe, it heals a spot on your image. For example, a fly got onto your wall ukiwa unapiga picha, and then so assuming that is a fly, just click it away. That is the work of the spot healing brush tool. My camera has gone off due to low power, juu nimeongea sana. So from this point on, you're just going to hear my voice and see what I'm doing. Next, we're going to the healing brush tool. So the healing brush tool heals. It almost works the same as the spot healing brush tool, but for this one, you need to have a reference point. Let me just get another image. Yeah, we'll use this one. So you can also open an image by dragging it onto Photoshop, and then una drag hapa juu kwa this gray area hapa, it opens the file. So the healing brush tool, I'm going to demonstrate with this image. So say you want to get rid of this onion piece here. Using a reference point, you select a reference point by pressing Alt. So you click Alt and then click, say here, and then wherever you paint, that point you selected will be painted onto this surface you're painting. And then if you go down on that point, it will go down on this point, and then it will try blending the reference point to your new selection, to your area as perfectly as it can. like it will try blend it in kind kama there has been anything. So you can see our piece of onion disappeared. It is gone forever. Another example would be, say you want to hide this crack. This crack is too big. I'm going to stop saying this crack. So you select your reference point. Say you want to select here, and then you come paint over the crack like this, and then it is gone. It is gone forever. Yeah, that's the healing brush tool. Next tool, patch tool. So the patch tool, I'll describe it like this. You make a selection, and then you move the selection to, like, you either, so kuna option ya source ama destination. You make a selection here, so we want to get rid of this onion. So once you've made the area selection of the area you want to cover up ama the area you want to, I don't know, move ama replace, you drag along, you click and then drag to area yenye unataka replace your place. That makes sense. Like, it's not the perfect tool, but it replaces your selection na the area you've dragged into. Alternatively, ukiselect hapa juu ikuwe destination, the selection you've made is what you will move to where you want to move. So say here, and it will try as much as possible to match the surrounding ikae realistic. It's not perfect. You have to do a bit of cleaning up after, but that is how the patch tool works. So you either select source or destination. The default is source, and then you remove that area to, like, cover it up with something like here, for instance. So that's how it works. So you draw around your area yenye unataka ku replace, drag along. That's it. Patch tool. Next one, content aware move tool. Ika patch tool with the destination option selected. So you move and then press enter, and then it moves the area you will select from where it was to somewhere else and replaces that area with the surrounding pixels in a match that area with the surrounding pixels. So I'm speaking a lot of Greek right now, but I'll show you. What it does is it takes, so we want to move this onion to somewhere else, onion slice. So it will take that onion slice, move it here, for instance, and then it will replace that area in onion ilikuwa na something similar to what was surrounding the onion. Does that make sense? I hope it does. That is the content aware move tool. So what content aware means is it checks the surrounding pixels and then creates something to cover up that space based on the surrounding pixels. Next, we have the brush tool. So brush tool ni brush. So remember the layers panel, we are going to create a new layer where we can paint over ndio tusiharibu our image. And then with the brush tool, there are a couple of options. You have the brush tip options here. So you can select whatever brush you want. So we have a hard round brush and you paint over in a cover that area with paint. It's just a brush, like that's it. So what the brush does, it picks the foreground color and paints it over the area you're painting over. So with the eyedropper tool, we can change the foreground color to, say, this red, and then once you go back to the brush tool, paint near red in a paint. So yeah, that's it. Next, pencil tool. Like it says, it's a pencil tool, so you can use this to draw kama any artist. So you might not see this since the resolution is so high, but you can change the size of the tip as usual na the square brackets. So you have a thicker pencil like this, then you can like draw over whatever you want to do. So if you ever seen digital artists, I will bring one someday kwa hii channel. This might be one of the tools they use, the pencil tool and the brush tool, obviously. So next, we have the color replacement tool. This is a tongue twister for me. So what this does, you select a color. So for the eyedropper tool, with any brush tool you have, any brush tool you're using, to bring up the eyedropper tool, just click Alt. So Alt ni ya kuselect colors whenever you are using any brush tool. So the color replacement tool replaces a color enye iko kwa your artboard na a color enye iko kwa foreground. So for instance, you want to replace all the red na your green to select. So you paint over the red area, and then it will try to match the edges ndio isi go over. So what happens is it selects your color enye ume select sa enye iko kwa foreground, and then it will paint different tints of the color. Tints ni lightness ama darkness. It will paint the different tints on your artboard depending on the tints that are already present. Am I making sense? For instance, huku kwa yellow kuna kwa lighter than kwa red because the red was darker and the red is the darker green. So that's what it does. That is the color replacement tool. The mixer brush tool, what this does is with your foreground color, so we'll change the foreground color to not be green. Let's go with yellow. With the foreground color, it mixes in your color na the color already existing. So it's still green apparently. So the eyedropper tool shortcut ni I, letter I to bring it up, and then we'll go back to the color mixer tool. So it will mix in the yellow kwa hii green yenye tuko nayo already. It like inakuwa ni kama umemix two colors and then umechukua brush yako sawa unacheza na hizo colors umemix. Hope that makes sense. Digital artists are the one who will use these tools mostly. For me, I've never used the color mixer, the mixer ama color replacement tools. So mostly these are for digital artists. Next, clone stamp tool. So the clone stamp tool, what it does, do you remember the healing brush tool? So the clone stamp tool copies an area and pastes an exact replica of the area onto wherever you want. So we'll use the layer ya picture ya food, so we can hide this other layer yenye tumepaint over. So to select your reference, you press Alt and then click where you want to refer. So we want to add a crack hapa katikati. So what the clone stamp tool does, it paints over an exact replica of the selected area kwa place una paint. So as you can see, ina copy hii area exactly vile iko, and then it paints it over hii side ingine. So this onion we can complete it like that. So this crack wasn't there, but it's there now. That's the purpose of the clone stamp tool. And then we have a pattern stamp tool. So say for instance, for some weird reason you want this onion ama garlic paste to be painted over a pattern. What you do is you select your pattern here and then paint over the area and then in a paint. So what you can do is to make it better, you can reduce the size of the brush, and then you can change also the brush tip to match something yenye unaweza tumia. So I don't know why you would use this tool. Maybe if you are painting, doing some art or something, I don't know, but yeah, that's what it does. Next we have the art history brush tool. What this does, it refers to the original image and then undoes anything you've done over the original image. It paints a snapshot of the original on the current version of your image. I know that sounds like Greek, but like for instance, we've done so much hapa hivi. What this tool does, it undoes everything tushafanya kwa hii image. Hii onion haiko hapa, tulileta hapa. Ukipaint hapo, it does that. Inatoa hizo vitu zote umefanya. Kulikuwa na onion piece. So it reverts, I would say it reverts to the original only places zenye una paint over. For instance, you can paint over half this line. That's what the history brush tool does. The next tool is the art history brush tool. This is a very interesting tool that I discovered just the other day while preparing for this video. It is like an artsy brush yenye you can use to do like awesome art, but like me, see digital artist, so sina idea what I was just playing with it. But there are so many options to turn your art piece, your artboard into actual art. So you can make images look like they are paintings just by using this tool. So for instance, let's make all this food become art. So as you can see, it's a very interesting tool that can give you like, I'm planning to have much more fun with this tool. So there are other options up hivi. You can play around with this to see the different effects that it gives you. If you plan to be a digital artist someday, this would be a perfect tool for you. I think it's really interesting, and pia mimi nitacheza nayo kidogo juu it's really fun to play around with an image and make it look like a painting by Van Gogh or somebody. Like, this is a cool tool. Anyways, next, the eraser tool. It does what it says. It erases things. So to change size, same na brush, the right square bracket, left square bracket, and then you can erase. And then you can also change the how hard or soft it is. So soft ni yenye, as you can see, iko na ka transparency of sorts kwa edges, na hard kwa hard kuna like inakata it, like, yeah, so that's the difference. You can play around with it depending on what you're doing. So that's the eraser tool. The next one is the magic eraser tool, background eraser tool, sorry. So for this one, I'll get a different image. So what this does, it will erase the background but leave the lady. You see what it's doing. So it is erasing the white background but inacha the lady intact. So it does not do a perfect job. It is a shortcut for when you don't want to use all the different selection tools, but it kinda does the job for you, so you just have to do a bit of cleaning up later. The next one is the magic eraser tool. So with this one, you remember the magic wand tool, it's almost similar. Ukiclick kwa hiyo white, itatoa white yote yenye inaona kama hiyo. It will, if you click on a color, it will select anything it sees with a similar color and does and erase it. So I'll undo this to the initial state tuona kama it will do a perfect job of getting rid of the background for us. So you just click on the white, ona vile imefanya faster. So it will save you a lot of time. Now time is of the essence whenever you're doing design. Like, you will learn that time is money, literally. Like, time is money. You have to save time whenever you're working. So yeah, that's the magic eraser tool. It is another piece of magic for that designers use. Next we have the gradient tool. The gradient tool creates a gradient of the foreground to background or background to foreground for you. You have different options of gradients up at you, but you basically drag left to right ama up down to create gradients. And then you have different options for gradients. You have the circular ones called radial, a radial gradient like this. We have a diamond one like this. Not diamond, this is angle gradient. So you can play around with the different options. We have I don't remember the name, but it goes from color A to color B, then to color A, and then we have now the diamond gradient. So you can play around with this tool if you have if you want to use it for whatever reason. You can use it for your backgrounds, all that. And then we have the paint bucket tool. For those of you who started with paint kama mimi, Windows Paint, the paint bucket tool is a familiar tool. It does what it does in paint kwa Photoshop here. So you just drop the paint in a specific area and then it does the painting for you. Nikawa tu zile enzi za paint zenye ulikuwa unatumia paint bucket kucolor your objects. That is the paint bucket tool. Next, here tuna skip ya 3D because who's using 3D, not me. Next tool is the blur tool. What the blur tool does, it takes things out of focus. You want to blur out her eyes, for instance. We'd use this blur tool to blur her eyes. You just click and paint over her eyes. Click and paint over her eyes. So yeah, that's it. You can change the brush tip also, as usual. You can have a hard tip. That is the purpose of the blur tool. Next thing, you can also remember for every tool kuna menu yake hapa juu, so you can mess around with these values to achieve whatever you want to achieve. The next tool is the opposite of the blur tool. It brings things to focus. So let's kwanza undo what we did with blurring her face. I'll use the history brush tool for a quicker revert. So what this does is it sharpens areas of your object or your image. So let's say you want to sharpen her lips for some reason. So this is what the sharpen tool does. But if you do too much, you will notice that saa inaanza kuharibu. It's like the general rule applies. Too much of something is not good. So the sharpen tool, just play around with it, achieve optimum use. Next is the smudge tool. This video is going to be long. I should have said that. Next, the smudge tool. So the smudge tool, so painters will know you can smudge paint time enye you want to achieve some cool effect. So the smudge tool, you can use it to create funny images. For example, people will go create caricatures. The smudge tool will be a friend. So for example, let's make her nose tall, and I'm not saying for example again. Let's make her nose tall. So let's say her name is Jenny telling lies, and then her nose grows taller. Okay, I'm sorry to this person for doing this, but that's the use of the smudge tool. You just use it to create cool effects. If she had ears, long ones, we would make them into elf ears. That is the work of the smudge tool. Let's make her mouth smaller. So I hope you're getting the essence of the smudge tool. That's what it does. Let's make her chin taller. I'm having so much fun. Yeah, that's the smudge tool for you. Next tool is the dodge tool. So what the dodge tool does, it brightens an area. For example, her eyes, you useme her eyes are too dark. Let's revert her to sipoa. Okay, sema her eyes they look too dark. Let's brighten them. This is what you do. You use the dodge tool to brighten teeth, to brighten eyes, whatever you want to do. And now they're shining. So we go to the burn tool, which does the exact opposite. It darkens. So our eyes are too bright. Let's darken them. So burn tool, fikiria like kuchoma. Hii inachoma. Hii tool yani inachoma, you get? So for instance, we want to achieve a Van Helsing kind of look. Van Helsing anakuwa na macho za black. I don't know, some vampire kind of look. This is the burn tool. If she's a zombie, like her teeth are also zombie-like, that is the burn tool. Okay, I apologize for doing this. This is this is not nice, so let's revert. The next tool is the sponge tool. So again, artists, what I get is sponge tool. Like you can either saturate or desaturate a certain area. So for instance, you're painting and then get too much paint, you will use a sponge to take some of the paint off. I assume if you are an artist, you can let me know. So you can either saturate or desaturate an area. What is saturation, desaturation? So saturation, desaturation is the amount of color in a specific area. I'm looking for a bright area in tunazatumia. Perfect. So the amount of color in an area is the saturation. So you can either use the sponge tool to saturate or desaturate an area. When you desaturate, ni kama unainyang'anya color. So you can see this area is becoming almost black and white, like ina lose the color. And then to saturate ni kuongeza color, so ina make it more, to make it pop. Get it? Make it pop. Okay, you won't get it, but guys I work with will get it. Christine, shout out to you. We've made it pop. So yeah, that's it. That's the sponge tool. Next, we're not done. This is the pen tool. I'm going to go fast from now on, since like we've taken so much time. Next is the pen tool. What the pen tool does, you create vertices. Vertices were the points, right? My maths teacher will kill me. But you create vertices, and then you can create shapes, or you can create selections using the pen tool. So for instance, we want to select her helmet. So right now it's a shape, but ukichange hapa juu to path, now you can make selections with it. So you just go clicking around your object. If you click and drag, it creates this curve thing. You have handles for changing the angle ama the length of the curve ama like that. So you press Control and then select. You can change the angle of the curve, you can change the length of the curve, you can do a lot, but this is just an overview. So you go around your object and you unataka select. I'm just doing a rough selection right now because time. Just click around the object, and then once you're done, you just join these two by like the last point na the first point must join, and then you have a path, and then you right click while still at the pen tool and then make selection. With the selection, I should probably show you right now. You can with Photoshop you can have masks. So say you want to hide this helmet, for instance, or you want to hide her and remain with the helmet, you create a mask with a selection. So with this selection we will create a mask. Say we wanted to cut out the helmet pekee juu helmet ndio tunahitaji. That's the purpose of the pen tool selection thingy, and then you create a mask. So I'm going to get rid of the mask. Freeform pen tool, like you just draw now. You just draw freely, you have your path. It's like the lasso tool except for creating paths and shapes and objects. So you can go a shape and then create a freeform one, and then we have a shape. So that's the purpose of the freeform pen tool. The curvature pen tool is for creating curves. What do I mean? I'll show you. So what it does is, from your previous point to the next one has to be a curve. So una deal tu na points za hiyo curve. So the curvature pen tool, this is how it works. You create curves based on points. Add anchor freeform tool. So when you have a shape, it is made up of anchor points. For example, a square has 4 anchor points. Zile za papa taksho. So the add anchor point tool ni ya ku add more points to your path, points that you can later on manipulate to get the whatever you desire. The remove anchor point tool is the opposite. You can use this to remove anchor points from your shape or object. Make sense? The convert point tool is used to convert curves into angles, like convert curved points into angles. For instance, this shape of ours is made entirely out of curves. To make this angles, just click with that tool, and then it gets rid of the stretch ya hiyo point to curves, inakuwa angled, inakuwa like sharp angles. That is the convert tool. And also if you do the same to an angle and then you drag, just click drag, and I return to a curve, and then you click again, you go back to an angle, you click drag, you go back to a curve. That's that tool. Next tool, horizontal type tool. The type tool is the tool used to add text to any objects in your Photoshop workspace. So to pretend we were making a signature to this piece of art by myself, you click at any point on your workspace, and then it creates a type box of sorts, and then you write whatever you want to write. So right now you can't see anything because the foreground color is black, so the text is black. So the text also goes with your foreground color. This foreground color is the one that goes with anything yenye unaweka on top of your current layers. So if you are creating a shape, itakuja na foreground color, but you can change the color later. So for text, kuna hii option ya hapa juu, just select any color. So I'll choose white or something close. You have this box here ya kukusaidia kupick exact colors. If you have the color code, you type it in here, or you select just a color hapo. So art by Kelvin, and then once you're done typing, you click ile entire numpad. I don't know if you have a keyboard with a numpad, but if you don't, it's okay. You just click the layer hapa, and then it commits the text. What I mean by commits the text is text inakuwa part of, like inakuwa, it becomes a layer now, the text. So that is the horizontal type tool. The next tool, vertical type tool, it types but in a type ikienda down. So art by Kelvin. So this is what it does. So kausha hiyo na poster iko na text imeenda chini. This is how they do it. This is that tool. It looks weird with this font, but oh yeah, I should show you that. How to change your font. So depending on how many fonts you have installed on your PC, you can always get fonts online and then install them. And then once you install them, they will be recognized by Photoshop. So I have thousands of fonts here, but like I'll just demonstrate with this one, for example. So to change your font, you come, select your text tool, click on your text, and then see this blinking cursor to know it is active. Press Ctrl A to select all the text, but you only do this after the blinking cursor appears. If you don't, it will select your layers. So Ctrl A to select all. Come to this drop down here, or this drop down on top, and then select a font that pleases you, that you find fancy. I'm so fancy. Okay, so once you select your font, you're done. That's it. You can also change the size of your font. Same procedure, click, select all, and then you can either drag along here or type in your font size here, or select a font size here. So you have three options. You can drag this, type in an exact number here, or select one there. So that's the type tool. vertical and horizontal type tools. And then we have the vertical type mask tool. So remember the masks, we used one kwa ile helmet. So this one is for use to create a mask using text. Once you're done typing, a selection is made, and then once the selection is made, now you can use it to mask your object. So we have layers on top here. So remember, the arrangement of the layers determines what appears on top and what appears at the bottom. So this paint layer was on top, so yeah, that's a mask we created using the vertical type mask tool. And then the horizontal type mask tool does the same thing, but horizontally. Next tool, we have the path selection tool. I'll show you this one using this one since we have a path here. So with the path selection tool, you know where the path is, for example, for this shape. So you come with the path selection tool, you select the path, it highlights the path of the object, the shape, whatever it is. So that is the path selection tool. The direct selection tool is for use when you are, say you are editing these vertices, you are editing these points. So you come select that point with the direct selection tool, and then you can manipulate it now, the specific point. That is the use of the direct selection tool. Here we have the shapes. Rectangle tool creates a rectangle. You can press shift in a create square. Ukiachilia shift, it can create any shape of rectangle, any kind of rectangle. Rounded rectangle, same thing except rounded corners. So press shift, it is a square. Ukiachilia shift, it is just a rectangle. Ellipse tool, same thing. Shift, perfect circle. Not shift, oval. Polygon tool. So with the polygon tool, you set the number of sides. Up here, we want to create a triangle. That's a polygon with 3 sides. You come, drag, you have your shape. You can select 6 to have a hexagon. Hexagon is 6, right? So drag, create, drag, create, drag, create. With the polygon tool, the sides are always the same size. So it's always a perfect polygon, a perfect hexagon, a perfect octagon, that is the polygon tool. Line tool, it creates a line with a height of 1 pixel, always, with a length of 1 pixel, depending on what you're doing. So the line tool, in create rectangle ya 1 pixel. Make sense? That is the line tool. A custom shape tool, Photoshop comes with a default of this weird looking shapes up here. So you just select one. If you are a scout, I don't know what this is for you guys. I don't know if it is important or not, but if you wanted to create a poster with that shape thing, just select the shape up here, and then yeah, that's it. Next is the hand tool. You've seen me use it so many times, but you didn't know what I was doing. So I was pressing space and then dragging the workspace around. So that is the shortcut of the hand tool. Hand tool ni ya ku move around the artboard ama your workspace. That is what I'm using right now to navigate around this area. So it works when you are zoomed in such that your art does not fit in the screen. So that's when you use it to move around the artboard. That's the hand tool. The rotate view tool is so you want to look at this from another angle. You just press rotate, but it doesn't change the artwork. It just rotates the view for you, and then up here you can reset the view. With angles, you can press shift. It will rotate them in increments of 15 degrees for Photoshop. So ukifinya shift with anything to do with angles, it moves na cursor na rotate in differences of 15 degrees. So 15 degrees, 15 degrees here. that is using shift with the rotate view tool, but unaweza use freely to any angle. Last tool, zoom tool. I already showed you guys how to use this. Just select it and then click on where you want to zoom. To zoom out, una press alt and then una zoom out. And then remember the default background foreground color iko hapa juu. You can play around with this. You can reset to default colors. You can click here to change the foreground color and also click in here to change the background color. That's it. I think I'm done with these tools. So one thing I didn't mention when we started is transforming objects. So it might be different for you. For instance, this is not active, the show transform tool. I have selected this rectangle, but the show transform tool is not active and I want to change the size of this square. So what you do is you press Ctrl+T and then transform your object. So Ctrl+T to transform, and then you can rotate, you can resize, you can do whatever you want to do. The other option is you go to edit and then free transform to bring those tools up. That's it, guys. Najua nimewabombard na too much, like too much, and I apologize for that. From now on I'll try to make videos shorter, but this being the introduction, it had to be so long. So I don't know whether I'll break this up into 2 videos for you, or it will be just a single video, but I hope you stick around to the end. Hopefully, should I say this at the start, but it's at the end. So yeah, that's it. See you guys on the next one. Tutaonana baadaye. Remember, links ziko hapa down, link ya kuinstall, link ya social media zetu, link ya whatever is useful that I've used here iko hapa down. It's been long, but it's been fun. See you around.